Mas é muito interessante. A coisa que eu mais não sei se eu vou falar. O que eu achei mais surpreendente. Fala, gente, sejam bem-vindos a mais vídeo aqui no canal e hoje estou trazendo uma nova reação a vídeo que foi pedido de vocês. Então podem já deixar mais sugestões agora nos comentários. E hoje eu vou reagir mais vídeo do canal Geography Now, The States of Brazil Explained. Então os estados brasileiros explicados, basicamente, né? Eu vou deixar assim que vocês podem ler as legendas porque o vídeo é em inglês. Vamos lá. Nossa, ela tem camiseta.
One of the top 15 countries subscribed to my channel. So what I've done is I have talked to a lot of you guys, the Brazilian geography peeps, to help me with this video, and I know a few Brazilian people here in LA. I asked you guys to explain what you thought about each of the states of Brazil. So if I get anything wrong, it's your fault. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Acre. There's a joke. Acre doesn't exist, and there's probably dinosaurs in it. Very few people in Brazil have actually been to Acre, let alone met somebody from Acre. I actually did meet two people from Acre here in Los Angeles. They were two gay guys that were gay for each other, but the point was, more importantly, they were from Acre. The first thing they said was, we do exist, and like half the population lives in the capital Rio Branco, or Rio Branco. They are famous for, what do I have here? Ancient geoglyphs, having a historic dispute with Bolivia. And the two guys I met said the two things I have to mention are Takaka and the strange Santo Daime religious community known for ingesting the hallucinogenic ayahuasca drink. We're off to a great start, aren't we? Algumas. They are the second smallest state, and apparently sometimes they are called the water paradise because they are surrounded by the largest barrier reef in Brazil. It has incredibly shallow waters that you can walk like a kilometer off into the ocean and you're still only gonna be like knee deep. They're also popular for fandango music, the Warrior Festival, which is a public folk display that depicts naval battles. Amapa. In colonial years, this was called Portuguese Guiana. It's kind of like the most well-preserved forest state in Brazil. The vast majority of the population only lives in two cities, Macapá and Santana, and the rest of the state is just covered like 90% in forest, 70% of which is unexplored. Let's see what I have here. Because it's close to the border of French Guiana, some people speak a French Creole called La Patua. Amazonas, the largest state of Brazil. They hold the largest territory of the world's largest rainforest and the most biodiverse region on the planet. Also, obviously, it has the largest number of indigenous tribes, many of which are still uncontacted with the outside world. It's also here you can find the tallest mountain, Pico da Neblina. Manaus is the capital. They have a cool opera festival. From what I was told.
Aliás, eu já fiz vídeo sobre Manaus. Não, quando eu reagi cidades, as capitais brasileiras, eu já reagi a, entre outras, para Manaus, né? Eu vi que tem muitos prêmios, né? Eu até falei naquele vídeo que Manaus é basicamente uma metrópole e todo mundo pensa, né? Amazonas, só tem mato, basicamente, né?
This is kind of like the place where people go to for like secret, undocumented trips into the rainforest that they pay the locals under the table for. Nobody can hear you scream. Bahia! From what I was told, despite the reports of crime, everyone still loves this state. And it plays like such a huge, significant role of importance in terms of culture and history. It has the longest coast of any state, so the beaches here are like spot on, beautiful, perfect. It also has like, the most distinctive African imprint on their culture, as it was a major hub for the slave trade. Today they have the largest black population in Brazil. World-renowned cultural traits like capoeira and samba were born here.
Wow, interessante, né? A gente sempre está escutando que samba, né, é relacionado ao Rio, né, as escolas de samba, mas eu não sabia que samba foi de Bahia, né? Basicamente foi trazido também pelos africanos, né, na época e desenvolveu como tempo. Capoeira eu já vi, achei muito legal. Quando fui pela primeira vez para o Brasil, né, eu visitei uma pequena cidadezinha em Minas Gerais, não Bahia, né? Bahia não consegui visitar. E lá eles fizeram capoeira, né? Numa praça. Foi muito legal. Primeira vez que eu vi capoeira. Achei muito interessante.
And they have those really cool deep-fried acarajé things.
Acarajé, né?
Salvador is the capital and largest city, and has a cool-looking fortress on the sea off the coast. And I was told that Bahia's carnival is like the cool carnival that
Verdade, carnaval da rua, né?
When they're sick and tired of all the tourists down in Rio. Ceará. This is like the family vacation spot of Brazil.
Essa visitei, sim, fiquei em Fortaleza 2 semanas, mais ou menos.
They have that. Jeez, how do you pronounce this? Jericoacoara. They have that Jericoacoara beach thing with all the cool like rock arches. The coconuts are so cheap, you can literally have a guy cut one open for you to drink for like 20 cents. Ooh, yeah, coconut water is like my favorite non-alcoholic drink, so this place racks up huge points for me. Espírito Santo. Weird fact, the state's name translates to Holy Spirit, but the people here call themselves Capixaba, which means corn hair. Kind of like how Wisconsin people are called cheeseheads. Anyway, the capital is Vitoria, and another thing that they're famous for is Guadalajara's healing black sand beaches, and they also make great seafood stews. Goiás. This is a central Brazilian state, so here you get the farm and the countryside and the ranches. Very hot and humid. Some of you guys have told me that Goiás is kind of seen as like the capital's bodyguard. Like they work together and they share all the government secrets. Kind of like Maryland and Washington D.C. Let's see. Goiânia is the capital, known for having the largest green area per inhabitant in the world after Edmonton, Canada. But yeah, it's like an agriculturist, low-key, access to the government files state. Maranhão. This is like the state I personally would really love to visit. The one thing this state is known for is Maranhenses National Park. It is one of the strangest landscapes on the planet. Sand dunes with water. Otherwise, São Luís is the capital, and it is the city that most closely resembles a Portuguese city in Brazil. Yeah. Wow. Maranhão. Mato Grosso. It is the farm and beef capital of Brazil. Very sparsely populated. The capital, Cuiabá, only has about 500,000 people. The largest sandstone cavern can be found here, Arojari. In the south, it's also home to the Pantanal, the world's largest wetland. And apparently you guys told me they are also famous for Brazilian country music known as sertanejo. Which brings us to Mato Grosso. Told me that they're kind of sick and tired of being mixed up with Mato Grosso, so whenever someone refers to the state, they make sure that they say Do Sul after. The capital is Campo Grande, however, Bonito is like the more popular tourist destination because they have like crystal clear pools and lakes and rivers. I was told that their culture is very heavily influenced by Paraguay, and like Paraguay, the Guarani language is the second most popular. And the people here love crossing the border and buying stuff in Paraguay because everything there is way cheaper. They also love drinking tereré, which is like a cold version of chimarrão. Oh my gosh, the Portuguese language, Portuguese is like the Danish of the Latin languages. Like, you pronounce the first part of the word, but then you just kind of give up on the rest of it. Anyway, moving on.
Mas não é so nação, né? É verdade, né? Acho que não é como não sei, né? Como basicamente não falar o final, mas você não fala chimarrão. O que não fala final é Portugal, né? Eles cortam no final. Mas Brasil fala basicamente todas as palavras ou temos sons nasais, mas porque estou explicando isso para você aí. Minas Gerais é o segundo estado que eu visitei, depois de Ceará.
Gerais. Geography Sergio told me that Minas Gerais is like the grandma's house of Brazil. Probably like the only state that all the other states love. And the reason being because it's kind of like one of, if not the most foodie state of all the states. Every single one of you has told me that Minas Gerais, I have to mention the cheese bread. Pão de queijo. Did I get that? No, I did not pronounce it. And tropeiro, beans, and feijoada stew. Also, no surprise, as the name alludes to, Minas. This place has some of the most historically significant mines in the country.
Quando cheguei pela primeira vez em Belo Horizonte, né, ouvi do avião que basicamente a terra era vermelha. Achei muito interessante para ver isso, né? Nunca vi isso desse jeito antes na Europa.
From here, which was subsequently stolen by the British apparently, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, moving on. Para, the queen of the jungle. The second largest state in the country, the capital, Belém. According to Geography Ariel, it's like the special strategic gateway to the Amazon that the Portuguese protected. They are a huge producer of rubber, iron, and acai berries. The northerners eat acai salty, while the southerners eat it with ice cream. They are also famous for brega music, and lots of dams were built here to power the entire country. Also, it is here where they grow the most Brazil nuts, which, by the way, in Brazil, they call Brazil nuts para nuts. Paraíba. Quite a few of you guys have told me that this is like the calm state of Brazil. It's like the perfect place to retire. Apparently, the capital, João Pessoa, is located on the easternmost point of the American continent, known as Ponta dos Seixas. Also, it was a former Dutch settlement, and for 20 years it was known...
Eu hatte anos atrás, né? Sei lá, 10 anos. Dos 3 anos eu Tipo, trabalhei num projeto que era sobre a parte holandesa do Brasil, porque era para um museu, né, para a história, essas coisas, e daí trabalhei num projeto sobre essa parte que era holandesa, basicamente, né? Era interessante, né?
Fredrikstad, Paraná. So many of you guys have told me Paraná is known as Brazilian Russia. It's the coldest spot in Brazil, and apparently a lot of weird things happen here. The capital, Curitiba, is so high up, it snows every so often, which is rare for Brazil. Geography Isabel told me that they are like the quiet ones that take time to warm up to if they don't know you. They call sausages vina, and they actually have a law where there are no Starbucks because they want to protect their own coffee industry. Okay? Pernambuco. According to Geography Olavo, people from Pernambuco are very artsy, and one of the most recent and successful artistic movements came from here, the Mangue beat. Also, great musicians like Zé Ramalho came from here. And don't forget the dish bolo de rodo. It's very delicious. Cool. And they're also known for having beaches with sharks. They are known also for a traditional dance called the frevo. And the first synagogue in the Americas was built in the capital, Recife. I don't get it. There's an R, but why is it pronounced like an H? Piauí. Kind of funny. It's like they just barely grabbed a
Deixa, estado do Whindersson.
The capital, Teresina, is actually built inland. And yeah, I was told that this is kind of like the poorest state of Brazil. But they know how to adapt pretty well. I was told this state is kind of like the underdog state, which is why every so often people like this, Whindersson Nunes, the most famous Brazilian YouTuber, came out of it. Otherwise, they are known for the Serra da Capivara Park, which has extremely old rock paintings. Piauí. Rio de Janeiro. I feel like I don't even really have to say that much. You all know this place, all the iconic images and landmarks of Brazilian culture.
Mas é cidade, né?
You know, the Christ the Redeemer statue, Copacabana Beach, Sugarloaf Mountain, the works. It's kind of like the Los Angeles of Brazil, you know, kind of like the shiny spokesperson and ambassador that all the tourists flock to. I mean, for the longest time, they were the capital of Brazil. However, keep in mind, you're thinking of the city of Rio de Janeiro. Remember, there's a whole state that comes with it. Not a really big one, but there is a state. You know, there's other cities like Nova Iguaçu, Petrópolis, and this place, Campos dos Goitacazes. And each of these cities has like their own cool little quirk, but however, yeah, Rio, the city is more of like the flashy hotspot. Rio Grande do Norte, the Christmas state. The capital is even called Natal, the word for Christmas. And every Christmas they go all out and have a huge party, and it's like a big deal for them. According to NASA, this place has the purest air in all of the Americas. It's also home to the world's largest cashew tree, estimated to be somewhere around 8,400 square meters. They also host Carnatal. It's like one of the biggest off-season carnival celebrations. Woohoo! Rio Grande do Sul, the southernmost state. Capital, Porto Alegre. Now, I've met quite a few people from this specific state. People here are known as gauchos, similar to Argentina and Uruguay. This is like the whitest state of Brazil. They have a huge, distinct German and Italian population. They have their own accent, cuisine. They're very famous for their barbecue. There's a lot of this.
Quando eu fiquei em Portugal, né, quando eu fiz intercâmbio em Portugal, eu encontrei muitas pessoas, eu fiz muitos amigos de Rio Grande do Sul, e o churrasco que a gente fez foi maravilhoso, melhor que eu já tinha na minha vida, né, saudade dessa época.
Here at one point they tried to secede in the Ragamuffin War, right? I think that's what it was called. Or the Farroupilha Revolution. Then they had a war with like all their neighbors, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay for some reason. It's crazy. These people did a lot of fighting. But yeah, they're very distinct from the rest of Brazil. A lot of the people here actually still speak their mother tongues like German, Italian, and Polish. They have Oktoberfests. The southern part of Brazil. It's very different from the rest. Rondônia. The capital is Rondônia. I was told this is like the wild west of Brazil. It's like the frontier between the humid Amazon and the dry Cerrado. A huge portion of the state is native territory belonging to 21 indigenous people groups, one of which only has about 5 members left. Unfortunately, it's also kind of known as the state with the worst deforestation rates. A lot of the land is cleared for agriculture. But yeah, it's like Acre's twin, you know, shrouded in mystery. Nobody knows anything anything about it? What's going on? What are you hiding? Rondônia, Roraima,
Roraima.
State. And the capital, Boa Vista, is the only capital that is north of the equator. This place is famous for the tri-point between Guyana and Venezuela. And Mount Roraima, basically, it's that really cool flat-top mountain that was the inspiration for the movie Up. And apparently, a lot of people are now paying attention to this state because a lot of Venezuelans are crossing the border because, you know, they're trying to escape the economic hardships implemented by the harsh Maduro regime. But yeah, basically, think of the movie Up with wave of illegal Venezuelan immigrants coming in. It's true though, it's kind of true. Santa Catarina, the capital of
Terceiro estado que visitei.
Florianópolis is actually on an island off the coast.
Eu morei meio ano em Florianópolis, né? Posso dizer que é mesmo único no mundo, não sei, mas o que eu vi, que é considerado uma capital de um estado, né?
According to Geography Eduardo, it's kind of like a place that fuses urban and nature
É verdade.
together. The
Isso é
people here
muito
are famous
legal.
for being interesting fishers. Apparently, in the town of Laguna, the fishermen have made a strange alliance with the dolphins, in which the dolphins help them catch fish, and the fishermen give the dolphins the leftovers as payment. So yeah, basically, if you want to meet people that can talk to dolphins, go to Santa Catarina.
Mas ela nem mencionava que também tem muitos imigrantes, né? Italianos, alemães, em Santa Catarina, né? Acho que é uma parte importante também, pois de Rio Grande do Sul, né? Acho que Santa Catarina também é considerado um lugar mais europeu, digamos, né? Brasil, né? Mas Florianópolis é mais português. Acho que Laguna, essas cidadezinhas lá no litoral são mais tem mais influência portuguesa, acho.
This is basically the New York of Brazil. Sao Paulo is nicknamed the locomotive of Brazil, and it is like the working machine that keeps Brazil afloat. It is the most populous state with over 45 million people. It has the largest economy and is by far the richest state. It alone is richer than all of Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia put together. Sao Paulo is the largest city, obviously. It's the 9th largest in the world and the 2nd largest in the Americas after Mexico City. It's incredibly diverse. Italians, Greeks, Arabs. It has the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. But what is Sao Paulo really like? Well, according to you guys, the Brazilian geograpeeps, I've gotten everything from Sao Paulo has great nightclubs. The people are thick-headed and snobbish. They are sophisticated. They are smart, but like in a crazy way. They are cool people, but be careful around them. I don't even know what that means. Basically, Sao Paulo is the powerhouse of Brazil. Sergipe, the smallest state in Brazil. There's a stupid joke. Which Brazilian state wants to be a Jeep? Sergipe. Portuguese. Sergipe is how you pronounce it. Yeah. Anyway, this place actually has some pretty cool, quirky things. According to Geography, Rusty. Yeah, Rusty. I was surprised. It doesn't sound like a Brazilian name, but cool. They have the statues from traditional folklore on the river with a huge crab statue as well because they love eating crabs. They have that strange Lambe Sujos and Caboclinos festival where people paint themselves black. It's often said that Sergipe is like Bahia's backyard. Tocantins, which means the toucan's beak in the native Tupi language. This is the newest state that broke off from Goiás in 1988, I think. The state is famous for the Jalapão National Park. It was portrayed in a recent telenovela from Globo TV called O Outro Lado do Paraíso, the other side of paradise. Otherwise, they are also really tied in with their indigenous population. They even hosted the Indigenous World Games in 2015. Yeah, toucan's beak. Woohoo! And finally, we reach the capital, Brasilia. Now, literally every Brazilian I talk to, when I ask them to explain what they think about the capital, they all do the same thing. They all just kind of go like, Now, just like many countries across the world, the capital can sometimes be seen as a source of problems. No shocker, that kind of applies to Brazil as well. Basically, the city was built in the 50s and inaugurated in the 60s as the new capital of Brazil as a means to kind of centralize the government buildings. It was built in the shape of an airplane or bird.
Nunca vi this shit.
And people from all over just started moving in, and it's a new city. It was built specifically to become the new capital. It has the second largest soccer, football stadium in the country, and yeah, this is just kind of like where the stuff gets done and the people complain. So yeah, that is just about it. I tried my best. I tried to relay what you guys told me, and I hope I did Brazil justice. No matter how much I try, though, I'm pretty much never going to recover from that Ronaldo mistake.
Verdade.
Obrigado, and hope you have a good one. See you then. Bye.
Sim, acho que ele falou num vídeo, né, antigo, não naquele outro vídeo sobre o Brasil, né, o Ronaldo. Não sei se era essa música que ele fez no início, mas é muito interessante. A coisa que eu mais surpreende, não sei se eu vou falar.
Complicou.
O que eu achei mais surpreendente é que samba vem da Bahia. Quem não sabe pensa samba relacionado com o Rio, né? E outra coisa que sertanejo, ele fala Mato Grosso. Não sei se não se lembra certo. Mas sertanejo acho que também era de Minas, algo assim, mas não é. Muitas coisas que não são de lugares que a gente não sabia. Eu pelo menos não sabia. E de qual estado você que ele mencionava. E o que você não sabia antes do vídeo, você já sabia tudo. O que mais tem para complementar. Deixa nos comentários, também deixa mais sugestões se você já está lá nos comentários. E deixa seu like. E aqui tem mais vídeos de reação sobre o Brasil que já fiz. E aqui tem outro vídeo para você assistir também. Assim, muito obrigado por assistir.